On today's show, episode 36 of the Real Recovery podcast, Peter and Julie sit down with Adrian Burris from 4D Recovery. Adrian shares his powerful journey from addiction to recovery, offering insight into the challenges he faced and how he turned his life around. Through the support of peer services and the concept of recovery capital, Adrian found a path to sobriety and now dedicates his life to helping others do the same. His story is a true testament to resilience, hope, and the strength of community in recovery. Tune in for an inspiring and candid conversation.
Hello, and welcome to the Real Recovery podcast. I'm Julie, your co-host. On this journey of healing and transformation, together with my co-host Peter, we dive into the heart of recovery, sharing stories that resonate with courage and inspiration.
That's right, Julie. Each episode is a new chapter in this vast narrative of recovery, and we're honored to bring them to you. But keep in mind, the perspectives you'll hear are for informational purposes only and may not reflect the views of the podcast or our partners.
Indeed, while these conversations can be a powerful part of your recovery toolkit, they are not substitute for professional medical advice. We encourage you to seek guidance from your healthcare provider for any treatment-related decisions.
And if you're facing an immediate crisis, or if you just need to talk to someone who understands, don't hesitate to call a recovery crisis line at 503-223-8569. That number is also on our website. Help is available 24/7.
Now let's begin our episode
of recovery, real recovery.
This is Peter with the Real Recovery podcast, and we are here with
Adrian.
Hey.
We're
Thank
at
you.
4D today in Tony's office. Hi, Tony.
So this is
Yeah,
Studio
right. He's here in
T,
spirit.
Tony's
Yeah.
office.
Yeah,
We're usually at Studio H, Peter's humble home.
yeah.
Well, thank you for taking the time out of your day and
So
to spend
grateful.
some time with us. And it's like we were saying before we started recording, where it's just super casual, and we just want to hear what were your struggles with addiction, and then how you got into recovery and what you're doing now, and give some people some hope and somebody else to listen to and look up to. And
Right.
yeah.
And believe it or not, I do talk about my recovery capital.
Yeah.
I explained it to Peter, and I said, I'm a billionaire. I
Yeah.
don't hang out with anyone that uses.
Right.
I have a car, a home, a job, and a lot of recovery.
Exactly. That's the beauty of teaching that. A lot of people, when you first introduce the concept of recovery capital to them, they're thinking that they have to familiarize themselves with this like foreign concept, and that's why I stop. I ask the leading questions, and then I say, hey, if you want to think of an example of somebody with high recovery capital, and take your own personal situation, make an assessment, and
You made me feel better because I'm not rich. I don't have a fancy car, and I live right up the street in the ghetto. I have a nice condo, but in the ghetto. And I was like, yeah, but I'm a billionaire in
Right.
recovery capital. My
Exactly.
sponsors, 45 years sober. I'm 27. So I'm
27
blessed.
years sober.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
I'll be out of prison 30 years in October.
Really? Oh man, October what?
31st, I
October.
graduated. And I graduated. I didn't get released. I went to boot camp.
Oh, really? That's close to my clean date, October 31st.
Ah.
Close, same month. you know?
What's the date?
So the 9th of October, 2015.
It's coming up.
Yep, it is coming up. And my
I'm going to have a
birthday-
freedom party.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah.
for real. Like,
yeah.
I told Izzy, we're going to do it on November 3rd. We're going to do a real podcast recovery thing. 30 years. Thank God, right?
I'm just 7, but
It's my
who's
favorite
counting?
number,
So
though.
it's enough to be celebrated, right?
That's all we all
Because-
got. It's today.
100%. I got to remind myself of that constantly.
So do I. Just so you know, I'm in the process of making some changes. That's why I took your class. I wanted it for the podcast and the knowledge. And making changes is scary.
Yeah.
And so I have to tell myself, just stay in today. Just get your stuff together, pass out your T-shirts, go meet Adrian. So
Yeah.
it's not an easy thing to do, but when you can do it, it's a blessing.
Right. Percent.
Yeah, I'm like, I hold a vision of a mountain, and Mount Hood is easy to put in my, because I see it all the time. I'm the mountain. I'm present today. I don't care about the winter storms coming. I don't care about the droughts in the past. I'm here for today, and that helps ground me. Otherwise, I future trip. That's my biggest thing is future tripping. Just I have such an imaginary mind that I'll think of what's coming up and I'll put all of these stories like this is who's going to go terrible. This is what's going to happen. I'm going to be late for this. All of these things and nothing has happened. I'm putting myself through all this anguish. It's what the hell are you doing, Peter?
Right. No, I
It's my brain.
do the same thing. I think it's even today, like that's something I struggle with, like living in the unknown. And then also like in recovery, you've got to live life on life's terms. I think that's a constant battle. I don't think that's just like, I guess before I got into recovery, I had this like idea or illusion that like I had a problem, and then once I addressed this problem in the appropriate
Everything's
way,
gonna be good.
yeah, like I'd be cured. And it's just like,
You get curveballs all the time.
oh man, if anything, it I don't want to say it gets worse, but it's just like, it gets harder because like you have this heightened level of awareness, responsibility, to where like when I was in my addiction, I had one main priority: not being dope sick. And then maybe that would change maybe that would change into actually getting high. That's how it progressed. But yeah, but now it's like I got so many things to think about. But I like your analogy, like the relation you made to Mounthood, staying present in the moment, because I think that's really important. It's something that we easily lose sight of.
Yeah.
So you're a Giants fan?
No, I just wear
the
this
hat,
because
'cause
it
it matched.
coordinates
I
with
got
this
you.
stitching on my
Okay,
short.
I was just checking.
You're just fashionable. That's
Yeah,
all.
I'm just fashionable. I get asked that a lot because like I wear a lot of hats, so I've got like a lot of different teams. But there are
You got a
teams,
Yankees hat, right?
I do have a Yankees hat. I have one Yankees hat. I probably got like 4 or 5 White Sox hats, just because I feel like that's like a classic type hat. Like it goes back to like Boys in the Hood, Ice Cube. Yeah, it's like a real like classic hat.
I think Jay-Z made the Yankees hat
Oh,
more
yeah.
famous than a Yankee.
Oh no, he did literally, and I think he put that in the line too.
Yeah, I'm a weird girl.
Really?
Yeah.
I
always
think that's cool.
Tell Tony about his little poster. He's a ball hog, but anyway,
What, Tony's a ball hog?
nah. His poster.
Lillard?
I didn't want to say it out loud. You know, I didn't want.
because you might hurt me.
I didn't want to.
That's a
He's a
sore
great player.
subject, man.
He's a great player for Portland, but he's a ball hog.
I'd say that he definitely is a point guard with shooting guard characteristics. So
That is the polite version.
it is, because I like him. I'm biased.
I'm
So,
not.
like, I'm biased. He is point guard with shooting guard characteristics. In essence, if you really want to make that make sense, it's like he just passes it to himself. Over and over
There you
again.
go. Well, I'm a Boston fan, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna live out this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Oh man.
I grew up there, so it's not fake love, it's real love. It's Larry Bird love.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Man, Larry's cold, man.
Yep.
Larry's definitely cold. But
So your story. And
so yeah, my story. I mean,
what you went
man,
through,
really.
how you got here.
A Portland native.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
So early years of my life, I think at the age of 14, I moved to Atlanta for like years. In 7th grade, I moved, spent 8th grade in Atlanta. And then very quickly, I think it was more just because I wanted to go back to what I was used to. And I was like really like unfamiliar with my surroundings. I was around like a side of my family that like, this side of my family, I would just go and see every other summer. Those cousins, they're still my first cousins, but it's like my mom's side. So all of a sudden, they're my day-to-day life. And I think like 14, that's like a really important period in your life when you're starting
I moved to Oregon.
Yeah.
And I was pissed the fuck off.
Really?
Yes.
And you ended up staying?
I had no choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, I had a choice. I still wonder, especially when it comes to like my addiction, I wonder what it would have been like if I had stayed in Atlanta, because I moved back the next year. I was like, I'm moving with my dad because I'm going to be closer to all my friends.
I
Yeah.
tried.
You tried?
My dad passed away when I was
Oh.
15.
I'm sorry to
But
hear that.
no, I'm old. It's been a long time, but I wanted to go back too
Yeah.
right away. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So I
did.
get it. And I thought, honestly, there was covered wagons in Oregon. And I had never heard of the Blazers. All I had ever heard of was the Lakers.
Yeah.
I didn't think there was any other team out here.
Oh man, I had my biases about like the South as well. It sounds terrible. Like you got to think this is 14-year-old me thinking this. 7th grade going into 8th grade, so I was 13, 14. Just because the dialect and difference in accent, and I wasn't aware. Like, ooh, I'm gonna go. It's terrible saying this on a podcast, but this is my truth. I was like, I'm gonna go down there, and the way that we speak in the Pacific Northwest is closer to like how the newscasters speak. So I'm thinking it's like more intelligent. I go down there, I'm like, man, maybe I can take some tests and get moved up like a grade. And that was really
I
like
thought
my
y'all
idea.
were retarded.
That's the thing. It's weird how.
I said, I mean, you said sneakers.
Mhm.
You guys said pop. I didn't know what pop was.
Yeah,
I
like
had
pop
only had
was-
tonic.
yeah.
You said jeans. I said dungarees. And I had the wicked accent when I moved here.
What?
Wicked.
Ka?
And I thought you said
Yeah.
Oregon, Oregon.
Oregon.
Yeah.
A lot of people like from the east like say that. I mean, even in the south, they were like, "You're from Oregon." You know, I had to tell them, I'm like, "Oh, you know, like the closest thing I could relate it to California." And then they're like, when I tell them that, then they like start making like quotes of like old hood movies and be like, "Hey, Buster," like those type of. Like, that's not how we talk. No, that's you've been watching too much hood movies.
It's
but
crazy, but that's true. That
Yeah.
is really
Yeah.
true.
I had the opposite experience when I went to Jersey because you see the Sopranos and shows like that, or the Jersey Girl, whatever, the housewives of, and you're like, those people are just not real. And then I moved there, or I was working out there, and it's, they're real. They're everywhere, and they really are like that. They really do talk like. I was like, this can't be. It's got to be a movie set. No, it's real. So it was funny how you just. What you know and what you grew up with, that's the norm.
Hard going to a new area, though.
And the perceptions
Exactly.
we have of other areas
when
of
you
the
grow
country.
up with your crew.
Oh yeah, exactly. And it's funny because when I actually got there, got there in the summer, like the beginning of the summer, and I spent all the summer like with my cousins and stuff, like getting acclimated. But it was fun. I liked the fact that I lived with my aunt because my mom was moving. She wasn't gonna move until later, so she moved me out there first. But then the school year started, and I lived in a suburb called Stockbridge, so it wasn't like in Atlanta, you know.
It wasn't
but it's
cool
like,
Atlanta. It was
no,
outside
it wasn't
Atlanta.
cool Atlanta. It was like cool Atlanta, but like in a different way cool. Not like cool like urban. It was like, in these schools, let me tell you, it was the complete opposite of what I was assuming. I never lived in a subdivision, first of all. So that was my first introduction. I'm like, what the heck is this? Then you go to the school, and then they have a school system that I was in. It's in Henry County. They have the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school, and they're all the same name. And they're all like on the same campus. And they like got money. Like I'm used to Portland public schools. Like these schools are like cutting edge. And I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm definitely not getting moved to no. and the school system academic wise was much more advanced than like I was used to. I think that they just had more money in their school system. Like their sports teams had a lot more equipment. Like they had a lot more money to put into like just sports in general. I mean, they had AstroTurf fields, and I'm like, I'm in middle school. Like, this is crazy. So
Wow.
I was wrong about that part. For sure. And I learned a lot, but I still did go to the barbershop in the cool part of Atlanta. So that's one thing you had to do because I don't know. I'm not the type of person I couldn't go to Supercuts.
Right.
Because they would mess my head up. Yeah, that's like my experience early then. And then after that, I moved back to this area, but my dad lived in Vancouver. So I went to high school in Vancouver, Mountain View High School, and I was thinking that it was going to be like this thing where I'm still close to my friends. I didn't see these people at all, like when I moved back. So it was really just like adopting a new set of friends anyway. And yeah, it was really difficult, but I guess it was a good part and it was a good thing and a bad thing. I had a lot of structure growing up, but like hindsight, I feel like that structure and the push to be great and like to do these certain things and achieve these milestones because my parents didn't really, especially my dad, didn't come from much. He's like one of those people that's, I want to give you these opportunities that I never had, but I had a lot of pressure on me. And then that developed into counterwill, which later down the road caused me to get the fuckets. And the first opportunity that I had to not be under a thumb of some sort, I was fucking gone.
Yeah.
Same. I went down to Portland State at 17.
Really?
Yeah, I went and I was structured too. I went to a Catholic school back east, and out here was the first time I went to a public school, and it was the first time I seen jeans in a school, first time a cafeteria, and I was so excited they had a football team, and they had AstroTurf. I went to Sunset.
Oh, really?
And I was in shock. I couldn't believe there was like menu items in the cafeteria.
Really?
I brought my lunch every day and I wore a uniform. And I was so excited. Like I couldn't believe they wore shorts and I had never taken a bus before.
Really? Like a city? Like
school
public
bus.
Oh, really?
Never. Mm-mm.
Oh, wow.
It was talk about earth changing. Yeah. And then I think the hardest thing was sports because I always played sports. And you grew up with this set of girls that you played with. And I was getting ready to be starting point guard for the high school. And then you come here and they don't know you. You're just a girl that talks funny from a different state.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Yeah, I can relate to that. That's what I dealt with like twice, like back to back, because I moved to Atlanta and like I tried out for their basketball team, made it in middle school or whatever, but it's like nobody knew me. And like these kids all grew up together. And then I come and move to Washington, and the same thing my dad's telling me about this. I was supposed to go to Evergreen. So he was bragging about their sports program. Didn't end up going to Evergreen. Go to Mountain View. My dad like made connections with the coach and stuff. So I go and I'm practicing with the varsity team in the summer. But like, that still didn't give me a leg up. Cause I'm like, these dudes have their own system. They're like kicking in. I'm like, I don't know these people. So yeah, it was, and I'm like a really shy person, especially as like a kid. So
Yeah.
that was difficult for me.
I luckily was not. No.
I was shy to the point of crossing the street to avoid people.
I was told Peter, I wish I went to school with him because I would have stuck up for him. I would have beat somebody's ass over Peter. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was like my early/intermediate childhood, and that's around high school. Probably 16 was the first time that I smoked weed, and I remember smoking it, didn't like it, and I was like, oh my God, like I gotta stay the night at my friend's house because like my dad's gonna kill me. And then I remember, because that was the first time like my brain had experienced anything that was like mind altering. And I was like, oh my God, like I don't know how I'm ever going to do math again or something like that. I remember that was a weird thought, but that's my first thought. I was like, oh hell no, this is crazy. And I didn't do it again, didn't touch it again because mostly out of fear until I was like probably 17, junior year, started doing that stuff. By the time senior year started, that's when I really started to try to assert my independence. And I was just like, and I have a late birthday. So like I turned 18 at the beginning of the year.
I have an early one. So that's why I went to college at 17.
Yeah, I was like, okay, that's young.
Mine's in August, and I couldn't wait to get out of the house. So I got a job down on campus, and I moved the fuck on campus quicker than shit.
Man.
Anything to get away from my mom. My mom is like your dad.
Yeah.
I never have gotten in trouble in Washington County because I feared my mom. Yeah, I've gotten every other county, every other system, but not Washington County.
I wouldn't want to get in trouble there for many reasons.
Lotteries.
It's different than Multnomah County, Clark County kind of sucks. Yeah, I wouldn't want to get in trouble there.
I switched my parole from Multnomah to Washington.
Yeah.
I was trying to do the right thing, get out of Portland. Yeah, so I wouldn't run into anyone.
Yeah, I think that's wise, but not often the first thing that we want to do. It's like we tend to like want to try to hold on to those old connections.
It's hard. I had to let every connection go.
Yeah.
Part of my parole was I couldn't hang out. I couldn't hang out. It's funny because I couldn't hang out on 82nd or Sandy, and I never fucking was on 82nd or Sandy.
Right.
I made way more money than that, but was, honestly. And I didn't want to run into anyone that was doing drugs. And I knew in Beaverton, because I had never fucked off in Beaverton, that I would be safer.
Right.
And I got a violation for moving without permission. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, like to be confident in that decision because you were ultimately making that decision.
It was the
like,
best
for the
decision.
Right, for the
My
right
daughter
reasoning,
went to Sunset too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They're okay. We gotta operate within this structure and these rules, but ultimately, I totally agree. That was like the right decision to make.
I had to do 30 more days for that decision.
Really? Hey. That it paid dividends though, probably.
It did, and I was sober at least.
Yeah.
So when you were using in high school, was it just to be part of the cool kids, or was it to quell feelings that you had, or what kind of drove you to get into pot? And
I mean,
the culture.
It was a lot of the culture and like the cool kid thing. So like I was shy, but I was also like always like fairly popular. Like I was like one of the cool kids. So I guess that was like to maintain my cool. And that's how like it started. And then it turned into, okay, like now I actually like this. And then it makes me less anxious about the pressure that's on me and these responsibilities that like haven't really been cultivated by me. They've been like inherited and pushed on me in a way that like I didn't really understand. It wasn't explained to me. I just know that all my life I've had like pressure put on me because of like these opportunities that I was afforded that other kids didn't have.
And when you quit, I think the anxiety pops up. I smoked a lot of weed. I smoked weed to get off of meth, and it worked. But I can roll a blunt better than most brothers. And I'm just telling you for real. When I stopped, the anxiety for the very first time was like, psh.
hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what I experienced. Exiting treatment, there were some things that like helped me. Peer services being one of them. But yeah, that like
We
spike
hear
in like
that so
anxiety.
much.
Yeah, like I'm so like grateful for peer services being a part of like my story, because ultimately I feel like that was like, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I feel like that was like one of the main differences between me going back out or continuing my journey and even living or dying. Because as we accumulate clean time, we're observing ourselves in our new setting, but then also we have this other point of reference of people that didn't make it to where you are and are still out. And then I'm seeing more and more of these people as the years go on.
I
like,
don't
die.
understand why I'm so lucky.
It
Overwhelms me sometimes. I see people die all the time. And I don't know, I was at a Pathfinders barbecue this summer, and I ran into this girl. I didn't know who she was. She recognized me. And I was so grateful that we took different paths. And it's just sad. And fentanyl is no fucking joke.
Man, that's another thing.
I've never done it.
Yeah,
I'm blessed.
I'm grateful. So I got clean when they were starting to cut heroin with fentanyl, because heroin, that was my drug of choice. And I remember
Was
like,
that so
Yeah,
you
how'd you
were
get to
smoking
heroin?
pot and
oh yeah,
towards
yeah.
your senior year.
Yeah, so let me give you a little backstory. So towards senior year, I was smoking pot, but like at that time, I was doing anything and everything that was accessible. Heroin wasn't one of those things at the time, but it was more like pills, like Vicodin, Percocets, cocaine, weed, all of those things. And I didn't really have a healthy understanding of what addiction really was, because like with that pressure and all this other stuff, it also came with this level of ignorance, because I was like sheltered. Like,
I was so dumb.
yeah,
You have no... seriously,
Not dumb, naive.
naive.
Dumb. Okay. When my friend asked me if I wanted to work for the escort service, I thought I was going to the ballet, out to dinner.
Oh, escorting people.
I thought it was going to be the easiest fucking job I ever had.
Oh God, that's funny. That's hilarious.
And yeah,
That's what it sounds like.
the first time the guy said, and I was like, what?
Well, what?
Yeah, and I started crying.
Oh, hell no. Yeah.
And he gave me all the money, so I was like, okay.
Yeah, man. But yeah, that connection, it was gradual, but then it was also pretty sudden, because my understanding of addiction, being sheltered, wasn't what it should have been. And this is something I learned, like, that I'm going to incorporate into my parenting, because I got a 7-year-old daughter. I'm going to educate her on these things. We had DARE cops come and they're like, don't do drugs. So that's like pretty black and white to me. It's just, oh, drugs are this thing that like people that it's bad, so we should just not do these things. Okay. But like I've done cocaine, Percocets, oxys, stuff like that, Vicodin or whatever. And I hadn't built up like a tolerance. I knew I liked this stuff, but I wasn't like having to do this stuff every day. In my mind, once I had made it and got exposed to heroin and it was offered to me, in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm not.
No problem.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not one of those people, I guess, so I could just do this shit.
Right.
And boy, was I wrong. Dangerously wrong. I remember I got my tax return, and that's what happened. So this is fast forward 21, so dropped out of high school second semester, senior year. I eventually the next year, I have a half a credit to do. So that's why it wasn't like, I didn't really care, because I'm like, man, it's a half credit. I'll fucking do that shit in summer school. But right now, I want to move out of my dad's house and live with my friend because his parents let him do pills. And that's what I want to do. But yeah, never built up like a chemical dependency. Fast forward, 21 years old, I got my tax return one year. And I reunited with a friend. And by this time, there have been some changes in his life. He had become addicted to heroin. I didn't know. He just was like, hey, you want to try this? I'm like, what is it? He was like, it's heroin, Cuddy. I'm like, heroin? And at this time, I'm thinking that's just like in bigger cities or on movies. I'd never seen it before. Yeah, so I did it. And I was like, oh, I threw up and didn't like it. I've been here before. I just like, okay, like I didn't like weed the first time. I just got to break myself in.
Work up to it.
So yeah, I was like, I remember thinking like, okay, I got this tax return. I think it was like $400, $500, something like that at that time. This was like 2011. I'm like, I'm going to spend half of it, because like, that's irresponsible to spend all of it on heroin, right? So I'm going to spend half of it on heroin. Did that, but we did heroin. That was enough to do it for a week straight.
So that you hooked in.
Yeah,
Then it hurts.
Oh yeah, I remember I'm like, okay, party's over. Let me get some sleep and fucking go back to other drugs that aren't heroin, I guess. And then like I remember waking up, probably it wasn't the next day, but it was probably like 2 days later. I was like, what the fuck? And then I called my friend and I was like, hey man, like what? I don't feel good, He's like, oh yeah, you're dope sick. I'm like, dope sick? Fuck is dope sick? He's like, you need more heroin. And I was like, at that time, my body's screaming at me. I don't know what the hell is going on. So like, you tell me that this is the solution. That's what the fuck we need to do then, because this is not okay.
Yeah.
And from then on, like I remember I was going through a little bit of depression, that rebellion in me too, from the counter will of my parents and stuff like that, So like I was at like a point to where I was like probably the most susceptible to something like that. It was just like the perfect storm. So like it wasn't hard for me. I didn't question it. I was just like, well, I guess this is the fucking direction I'm going. I'll figure it out. I can, live my day-to-day life normally. I just got to do this thing every day. It's like people are like, oh, well, I got to pray every day. I got to do this every day. I wash my hair every day. Shit, I got to do heroin every day now. So I guess, yeah, it didn't turn out to be that easy.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's expensive habit too.
Man, I didn't because I'm like a 20 would last me like a few days in the beginning, and then I didn't understand tolerance and all of that shit. So yeah, that went downhill fairly quickly, and people's shit started coming up missing because like I was an undercover heroin addict. Nobody knew until shit started coming up missing. Right. And then I'd already been kicked out of the house by the time they figured this shit out. But yeah, I started to do damage and impact the people around me. Ended up homeless. Me and my girlfriend, who was a normie, wasn't using drugs. We ended up sleeping in her car. Then our parents ended up letting us move in with her. Bad idea. Stole all your shit. Like it was bad, and I was never that person. Like I was always a pretty compassionate person.
What you do when you're high is not what you do when
not
you're
at
not
all.
high.
Yeah.
But
I'm not promiscuous in my real life.
Like in my high life,
I'm picky. I'm just the opposite. I'm picky.
Well, you'll do anything to take care of the habit.
Yeah.
Anything.
And it was like that's one of my worst fears is being, even to this day, is like being dope sick. That's fucking terrifying, man.
I'm scared too.
Hell no.
I'm scared that they'll put some fentanyl in it. I'm really scared.
Yeah.
I did meth when it was really meth. I'm paranoid. To go out at this point in time, I believe I would die.
I feel the same, and I feel like thankful that I dodged that bullet, because like the landscape nowadays, I don't understand how. Yeah, of course, like I would still be in it and doing the same thing, but it's just like my chances of survival would be a lot less, because the way that these pills are being pressed, you could have half of it that doesn't have any fentanyl in it. The other half
what Robert was saying.
All the fentanyl in it. Yeah, and that's scary.
He said there's no more real heroin.
No, there's not.
That's what he said, and he said that when he said that, I was scared.
Yeah.
Like even more scared. And I didn't know what monkey snot was until he told me. And I thought I was educated, street language. I'm pretty hip. But no, his girlfriend, he was coming off pills. And his girlfriend gave him some solution that had heroin in it. And he squirted it up your nose.
Yeah, it's put into an old Afrin bottle.
Oh.
And then,
And that's how he got hooked on heroin.
I do know what monkey snot is then. I just didn't know what it was by that term.
By that name,
By that name, yeah.
We didn't know. Yeah.
Monkey snot. I'm like, man, but now it makes sense.
Yeah.
Snot of a monkey. I get it now. Yeah. So for sure. And things just progressed, got worse. And I started to turn into this person that like I didn't recognize, but I also didn't really it's not like I didn't care. I didn't have I couldn't afford to give a fuck about what the fuck I was doing. At least that's how, because I had to survive.
Yeah.
And
I changed so quickly too.
Yeah.
The difference was I had all the money in the world to get high. And I don't know if that's a good thing either. I'd go buy dope by the ounce. And what was most important to me is that I got clean dope so my face didn't break out.
Man,
because your face broken out. So your face breaking out is gonna hurt your.
She's a bougie bitch.
I am bougie, but yeah, that was, and I didn't want to be seen with tweakers. Like, I didn't want to be seen with you, so I'd have the drug dealer drop off, and because I had a lot of money, I had good friends. Yeah.
Man, yeah, I didn't. There was a couple of times that I scratched the surface of that type of addiction, but I never sustained it. bad shit started happening to me. I remember I like hit a lick, allegedly coming into some money, and like I'd have enough to like, I remember one specific time I had enough to buy a little bit over an ounce, but like probably 2 ounces, but I bought an ounce. My dealer didn't want to sell it to me because he didn't want me to fucking start selling, because he wanted me to keep buying from him. He tried to give it to me like in halves, and I was like, man, fuck that shit. Let me loose, let me go. So anyway, did that, and that lasted for about a week, started selling, and I just remember being like, man, for the first time in my life, I don't have to worry about fucking how much, I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm selling, I know that I'm gonna have enough to re-up, and then fucking like the first night, somebody tried to rob me for the money that I'd stolen, allegedly, at gunpoint. And I'm just like, damn, this is crazy. And the bold shit that we do. I remember I had some other stuff on me, and I had the money on me. He puts a gun to my head. It was a setup. Dude next to me is acting like he's getting robbed too. And he's like, just give him all your stuff. I'm like, what? We're both being robbed. Like, what? Oh, and then, yeah, I remember the guy. I don't know why I remember this. He asked me if I wanted to be pistol whipped. And then that's when I was like, kind of question is that? Is this a choice, multiple choice? Like, I can get pistol whipped, I can not get pistol whipped.
What's the alternative?
Yeah, and then that's when I was like, okay, he's probably not going to shoot me. But now, I'd be like, here, take whatever. But then I was like, hell no. Take this $100 worth of meth. That's all you're getting. Yes, I have $3,000 in my underwear, but you're not. But yeah, it's just like bold stuff, because I was like not willing, for some reason, being dose sick and not. Too. Yeah, and not coming up on that was like worse than death to me, apparently. But yeah, and then somebody stole the actual dope that I ended up having.
Getting a gun in your face isn't cool. I have a scar.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. See, and so you actually got hit
by a
with
bitch, no less.
Oh, my goodness. And that's another thing that I realized down the road, that actually, from stories and stuff, that actually hurts pretty fucking bad. I probably would have changed my tune-up.
I will tell you, no girl has ever put their hands on me since, but it was that kind of a lasting decision.
Oh, yeah.
Having a scar, then the black eye with it. Stayed in the hotel room where no one could see me till the bruise was gone.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Because guns are heavy and metal. I mean, depending on what kind of gun it is.
Luckily, this was a little one. I think it was like a 22.
Really?
Yeah, it was a little one.
Oh, man, and a 22. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
I stole the gun, though, and got rid of it. Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
I pulled it back on her.
Yeah. Some John Wick shit.
Look. Like, I was a gangster, and I'm going to say, when you're sticking a needle in your arm, you're bolder than... I've never fucked with a gun since.
Yeah.
Ex-con in possession of a firearm. I'm cool.
Can't do it. Oh, man. But yeah, that was a period of my life where I really was like, oh, shit, like things are getting out of hand. Of course, like I didn't get clean till 3 years after that point. But yeah, that's the fast forward from like a person that's like, hey, you got this great childhood with all these opportunities that you've afforded, and like you're supposed to go straight from high school to college, graduate, get a degree, blah, blah, blah. And now you're like in Vancouver in some back alley, some dude's asking you if you want to get pistol whipped or not. So
that's
what the fuck happened?
Quite the downfall, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was before I was homeless. So, like, truly
now
homeless.
that I'm sober, I wouldn't be in a back alley. I'm not out past midnight because shit happens after 10, right?
Yeah, not the good kind.
Not the
shit.
good kind.
No. It's just like, oh, man. Learn that. With people like us, we tend to like have to like learn the hard way by experiencing things, and then so we got to prove it to ourselves. You say this is a bad idea, but is it really? Okay, it is. I'm going to still do it again.
Yeah. No, we got to go through it sometimes a couple times just to get it into our heads that, oh, yeah, maybe this isn't the way to live.
It's crazy.
Maybe there's a better
way.
way.
Know. You really, I know. I'm going to tell you, I didn't know. Yeah. And nobody told me either. And I'm an only child.
Me too.
Yeah. So there was no one there to show me the ropes. Matter of fact, the people that showed me the ropes were breaking the ropes.
Yeah, there's nobody like checking the booby traps. I'm just falling in them. So
you said 3 years. It took 3 years before you
3 years
hit your bottom. I would.
From that incident where like I started, that was when I started to realize that, okay, like my life is out of hand. It would probably be better if this wasn't my situation. Up until that point, like for some reason I had this like illusion that like I was gonna gain control over this and like just become really good at fucking being bad. Yeah. And like that I was gonna successfully live this life. I really thought that for a period.
I'm an alcoholic. For me, it was I'm gonna be able to drink like a normie. You know, like I'll be able to drink just like everybody else and not, you know.
Yeah.
I was gonna buy a house.
Delusional.
I had just bought a new car, and I was gonna get out because I had enough money.
Yeah, like we all have these like.
That was literally my dream. Like I had a certain amount set for the house, and then I'm gonna take my kid and my degree, and we're gonna live happily ever after.
God, that actually sounds more tangible than like
Tangible.
shit,
I got arrested with a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I was
And your big house ended up being the big house.
the big house. Yeah.
Right. You achieved it.
Yeah.
You got it.
The money is why I got in trouble. Then you
Yeah.
get racketeering charges.
Oh yeah, they're like, yeah.
If you have
Yeah,
too
they don't
much
like-
money,
mhm,
they'll
they
fuck
don't
you
like
one
that.
way or the other.
Yep, 100%. So, yeah, I think it was after like maybe what was this? I was 23 years old. So I got
Young.
clean at 25. So probably 2 years after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I
You can
got
have
clean.
a great life.
Yeah, I got clean fairly young, so I was really blessed, and that was just like because of the method of intervention, and that was like criminal justice system or like the threat of criminal justice system, where like I had a choice, like I had an opportunity, and like I had to sit in jail long enough to be able to get enough clarity to really appreciate that opportunity for what it
Same.
was. And that's really like what the catalyst to change was for me. Getting arrested, because it's like when you first get arrested, I'm just like, man, how the fuck can I get out of here? Man, can I literally, is there a way to bust through these fucking walls?
Yeah.
Because this is fucked up. And then after a while, like get to some level of like acceptance. And then like when you get to that acceptance and realization of like your current situation, I was like, damn, okay, what's going to happen to me? And I was in jail for 5 months. I've been in jail for, I think 40 days was the longest up until that point. But this is like 5 months. And for the majority of that 5 months, it was like, hey, you're probably going to go to prison, but there's a chance that you might not. And it was like, okay, what can I do with this opportunity if they give it to me? And yeah, I just had to have enough distance and time away from my drug of choice to really be able to ask myself that question in a realistic way.
A lot of people say that, and for years, I was ashamed. Dead serious, because I was up in the corporate world, ashamed that I went to prison. And then at 25 years sober, I went to IOP for stress. And they said, flip around your worst situation. And it was at that time that I realized going to prison probably saved my life, because it gave me the time out. And I was blessed. I only did 6 months and 14 days because I went to boot camp 7 days after I got to prison.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was people waiting to go to boot camp for 5 years, 7 years, and I went. I wrote a good essay.
Yeah.
You know?
Hey,
Yeah,
transferable skills.
Good. I wrote resumes too to the people in there.
hell.
But yeah, and it was the opposite for me, because I had gone to college. The judge said, you should never be in this situation. And I was like, okay, yeah. So a different type of prejudice.
I think I experienced a little bit of that, but it wasn't until like my settlement conference for getting into McJerp, because that's the program that I got offered was McJerp, which was, I don't know if you guys know what McJerp is, but it's for property crime. So like Measure 57, there's Measure.
Say it again?
McJerp.
Never heard of it.
So I think it's Measure 57, which is like property crimes, which is what I had because I had a bunch of identity thefts. So that made me eligible for McJerp, which is like a start court, stop court E program or whatever, but it's like early release to treatment with a suspended sentence.
Up again.
Yeah, so if I fuck up, then it's this is it right here. So it's okay. I had the threat of this suspended sentence looming over my head, but then at my settlement conference, like my family, which is I've always had the support of my family. It's just like, I hide from these motherfuckers because they try to get me to do fucking responsible shit, you know. So I'm like, if I hid from them the majority of my addiction. And then they all showed up to my settlement conference, and it's just like a fucking horde of these motherfuckers, and they're just there. And then the judge starting to get like a realistic like picture of what my life
Your recovery
was like.
capital was
Yeah,
looking
exactly.
good, my man.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and I didn't even know, you know. But it's just like boom, they're all there, and then I think that probably the judge probably had that same thought, maybe not exactly, but along the lines of maybe not like you're not supposed to be here, but like you have enough support to where it's like
You have a chance.
yeah, it's like you got a chance.
How'd that make you feel?
It made me feel really good. And it also made me feel guilty in a way, because a lot of the people by this time, this is probably 6 years in my addiction, like I'd seen a lot of shit, and you know what I was seeing around me wasn't like a reflection of a lot of the people that I encountered situations.
It's like a movie,
Yeah.
like New Jack City.
It was like a movie. And I'm just like, damn, like, how dare I, like, squander this opportunity? Most of these people that were around me that I've encountered, there's some of them that came from privilege and stuff, but it's just like, I really have something in my corner that not a lot of people have. Shit, a lot of people, their immediate family is their introduction to addiction.
It's what they know.
And I didn't have that. And I was just like, you know what? Fucking let me just take this and run with it. And I remember being really committed to the idea of staying clean. It took a few tries. I remember getting put on Suboxone several times, going to detox several times, convincing people to fucking leave with me, all that fucked up shit. But this was different. I was like, okay, I don't want to go to prison. Really, rather not. So that's an incentive.
That's a good motivator.
Not good.
Yeah. I like to have no multicolored hats. Like, I'm not doing that.
You can't get your nails done.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm telling you, that was like, really? Yeah.
I hear the food is not all bad.
It depends.
It
if you're
depends.
in county, it
Fuck.
sucks.
Oh my God.
But I will tell you, when I was at Shutters Creek for boot camp, the regular inmates cooked for the boot camp people, and the food was bomb.
Yeah.
But I ran so much, I lost so much weight because running 6 miles each day. Oh my God.
Damn, 6 miles?
Oh, I did 150 push-ups. I came out of there fucking She-Ra. I'm serious. What'd you say to me? Yeah, I had an attitude when I got out. I still was. They took all my money. I was mad. I had
man.
Yeah, so I had a little attitude when I got out. It wasn't until I went to AA.
Yeah. That's kind of changed for you.
The parole officer said, you have to get your slip signed. I had 6 months left to do. And they had put me through treatment again because I got high one time. And I went and told because I didn't want to be high. And they said, we're going to put you through treatment again. And the lady told me I stood a chance.
Yeah.
And she said, but you're going to have to find a meeting you like and stay there, Julie, for the rest of your life. And I found a gay men's meeting. And it was the perfect place for somebody who was involved in the escort service. Nobody wanted to sleep with me. I didn't want to sleep with them. And I will say it's the first time I had trust in years. I got to trust these old guys. And at the 6 months when I got off parole, I was scared to fuck up, so I stayed.
Yeah.
I go to that same meeting today.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
That's where we met.
Really?
That's where I got my other husband. I got a lot of husbands, but yeah, it was a safe place, and I don't know how that happened or why, but God was looking out for me, just like He was looking out for me going to boot camp.
Right.
My daughter's never seen me get high,
Man.
and see, yours doesn't have to either.
Exactly.
And that's a blessing. And Peter's still in it. Peter's husband is amazing.
Yeah.
Peter's blessed. 24-year relationship.
24?
Yeah.
Oh,
Stuck
wow.
with me through it all. And
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's a blessing. I feel good relationships like that are like, I feel like they're hard to come by. At least in my
I'm
experience.
looking for that. I'm
Yeah.
going to find
You know?
that at some point. I think I was scared. I'm scared, yeah.
I think that's something that I feel like I want as well. I don't know if I'm prepared for it.
I
But
just went through some therapy,
yeah.
and I think we'll get there.
Yeah, I'm with you right there because that's what I'm doing right now.
It is. In therapy is not something I ever did until, like I said, until 25 years sober. I recommend people don't wait as long as I did. I recommend they don't work 65 to 70 hours a week trying to prove yourself to a new company. It takes a toll on you.
Yeah. It definitely does.
And I don't think I was ready in the beginning. I went to meetings 4 years, 3 months, and 22 days without missing one.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a hell of a
when I tell
record.
you I was scared.
God.
And what's crazy,
Yeah.
what's crazy is that they only had the meeting Monday through Friday. And then on a Friday, I had a breakdown, and I was like, I have a hard time on the weekends. And so they made the meeting on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
And on Sunday, they had church there. And so the meeting was at 1 instead of noon. And then when I worked 2 to 10 for a long time, so I could go to the noon meeting. And then when I got a job that was other hours, they made extended family. And that meeting's still there every night at 6, so I could go to that meeting.
Really?
So when I tell you they were there for me,
Yeah.
yeah.
Man, yeah, I think that's important.
They didn't want to see me cry.
That recovery capital.
For sure.
Um,
So you started down your recovery journey,
yeah.
and you still had that sentence.
Yeah, I had that sentence looming over my head probably, it was until I completed probation. So I think like the earliest I could have completed probation, which I did complete it early, was like a year and a half, 2 years maybe. But yeah, inpatient treatment at VOA, got exposed to 12-step, all that stuff. And then I don't know if you guys know Cody at all. Yeah, so that was my mentor. Met him towards the end of my stint in treatment, and I thought he was a client in treatment because he's dressed like me. It was his shoes that he had on. He had some Jordans on, and I was like, oh, those are tight. I didn't know he was a mentor. And then when he was a mentor, he's like, hey, you want to come to 4D? And we did the intake paperwork and whatnot. Didn't realize that he got paid for what he was doing until a few months later because it was like ridiculous. I'm like, I'll do this shit for free. So that was like the turning point, because then I got exposed to a group outside of treatment, a place to belong, like people that were like also young people. Like that was like a really like a big thing for me, because like young people historically hadn't had places for them and designated for them to recover.
There wasn't one.
And the young people have like specialized needs and whatnot. So I got my first home group from 4D. Like I was a client there for two years, a year and a half. I got exposed to different pathways of recovery. They introduced me to the concept of recovery capital, and it was like a hub for me. And I made a lot of connections that I hold near and dear to this day that are still a part of my recovery program. I got to try different things. And most importantly, I got to do this all while having fun in recovery, which is something that like, I thought that was the first thing that had to die.
Me too.
Fucking fun, you know?
You have to make it's better. I wouldn't say you have to, because everybody's different. But if you can make your recovery as attractive as you did your using, you stick around a lot more.
Yeah, I think that is the truth. And that's ultimately like what happened for me. And like it's just peer services in general was like just life changing for me, because when you get to treatment, you enter that like part where, you know, your counselor's doing the whole case management thing and setting you up for what your life is going to look like post-treatment. But you've got this connection. The closest connections that you have are like with this cohort of individuals that like you are currently in treatment with. So what do you supplement that with? You have
most of them aren't going to make it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, VOA.
Exactly.
I'm being honest, because it's a harder group there. My daughter's father went there. He's passed away. He's been passed away a long time, but that was the last treatment center he was in before he overdosed on heroin. And we dropped off Christmas presents there, and I was like, I made my daughter hold my hand the whole time. Yeah, I was a little bit, and this is somebody who went to prison, okay? But I was like, it wasn't like Fora.
Oh, hell no. Nope. I thought it was going to, like, my idea, because everybody's saying that it was, like, the best one to go to, but this is, like, people in jail, and I think what they meant was, like, they have the most flexibility, like, leeway, and, like, you get to go to, like,
MLK.
Yeah, and you get to go to, like, Blazer games and do activities. That's what they meant. So, yeah, I went there.
It's a hard area.
And yeah, it is. Like, I really had to, you definitely get to see the differences between the individuals that like may not be in the same stage of change that you are in.
Yeah, some people just go to treatment to get out, to rest for their next episode. And then there's like Tony, who make opportunities of their time.
Right.
And I don't know. And it's probably the biggest question I ever want to know is like, why did we get to? Like, why did this person not get to? And this person not get to survive, and why have I been so blessed?
The tough one, you know?
It is.
Part of, you know, I guess I'm like, when I really think about it, I'm just like, whatever the answer to that is probably just bigger than us.
Right.
It is, and I feel sorry for them, but if I have to choose you or me, every time.
I mean,
I did at the time.
Right.
She's old now.
Right.
But yeah.
I think that's something that I still think about to this day, because I've got a lot of like friends that like didn't end up making it, or people that like did make it to a certain point and was like side by side with me. Yeah. Somebody that literally had the same exact opportunity that I did to be here that didn't do that. And that shit like fucks with me a little bit. One person in particular, there's a few people, but like, yeah. And it's really mind-boggling. But I think that like, another part of recovery capital is like a sense of meaning and purpose in life. And that's something that I've definitely found.
You have more capital than me when it comes to that. I'm looking for it still. I think this is part of it.
This is a part of it.
Well, we just
right
started
here.
this 6 months ago, and I think I had to get a little bit miserable in the corporate world. And because I was so successful in the corporate world, and it suited its needs for the time. For when my daughter was growing up, I worked 6 to 2:30, so I never missed basketball, softball, or water polo. And as a single parent, hallelujah. And then when she went to college, I became an OM and gave up my hours and whatnot. So it had its needs, but I think
Like with what I did, I've done these podcasts production for others. That's part of my career. I worked in the corporate world and built studios and did corporate TV studios. And,
he's a genius.
And did all the behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
But I got to the point where it was like, what do I have to show for my life? And it's all for somebody else. It's all proprietary, or half the studios that I built are gone because the companies, merged or went at chapter 13 or whatever. And it's what can I do for myself? What is my passion? And that's how this came to be.
Right.
And
more in the
had I
last
not
6
been
months.
an alcoholic and gone through the path that I'd gone through and the recovery that I made all these connections. And that's how I got to Julie, was through part of my recovery. And I had relapsed, and I wasn't getting what I needed from the meeting that I was going to. And I got to this meeting where, I feel so comfortable. These are my people.
my sponsor hooked us up.
So all of these little steps, and even though, God, I wish I could have avoided a lot of the shit, but maybe that's just how it needed to be, so that I then could relate to others, or they could relate to me. And just sitting here today, feeling comfortable with each other, coming from very different,
3 different walks of life.
Yeah.
Right.
But yet we still have this commonality between us, and we're able to sit down and share.
That's my favorite thing about recovery, is that you're all there for the same reason. And there is a lot of different folks and whatnot. Maybe somebody that I would kick it with in my personal life, but I kick it with you in a meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
What do you do currently? So you went through this whole journey, and now you're here. You kept talking about to get me to here. So what is here?
To get me to here. What is here? Are you talking about as it pertains to 4D, or just
In your life.
in my life? Okay.
I remember you talking about your uncle a lot being in the program.
Yeah, no, my uncle definitely. Yeah, he is in the program. And another thing I wanted to say was like, I forget it, the purpose thing. Like, even this moment right here is a beautiful moment, because this is like literally like the embodiment, or the definition of the embodiment of our purposes intersecting in one moment. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I guess like here, that is where I'm at. There's
an energy when we meet with people. We get this energy. It builds as we're talking. Yeah, it's cool.
Always makes me sentimental too. Like, I'm so happy when I see, and I'm getting there. But Peter and I were at Peter's house for Father's Day. And I told you my dad died early. I had never celebrated Father's Day in my whole life.
Really?
Until Peter's house. And I was celebrating my sponsor. He's 45 years sober, and he's like the dad I never had. And I know people aren't supposed to have that relationship, but I do.
Right.
And he's gay. We're good. And Peter said, I was like, what's some things you haven't done or whatever? He goes, I'd like to do a podcast. And I said, I would like to do the podcast with you.
Yeah.
And how crazy is that? Like, how crazy is that? And honestly, I wouldn't have met him if it wasn't for AA. And for the fact that I go to that gay men's meeting. What are the chances? Crazy.
Like, it's like the chances are slim, but it's also feel like, exactly. We're all where we're supposed to be in reference to that.
I don't think he makes mistakes.
Nah, I don't either. There's sometimes that I like
question it.
Oh man.
When you're sitting in a cell, I'm just telling you, when your money's taken,
all of these things, even things that are like I've experienced like recently with like my personal life and personal relationships and things that like I've had to navigate clean. I'm like, man, I don't know why the fuck. Is there a different way that I could have? Can I not experience this right now? But I think that bringing us back to this moment, I think that's it. I think that I get to be like authentic and experience these things and use them to empower and inspire other people, while I'm also like on my personal journey learning constantly.
You're young.
Yeah, I think
Whatever, you look back on it and be like, damn, I just didn't know. You know what I
Right.
mean? Trust me.
like I have those moments. Right now is like one of those moments. I'm thinking about the times that we were just talking about when I was in treatment and stuff like that. I never would have thought that, like,
Where you'd be right
yeah,
now.
never in a million years. I thought that the goal was just to like not use drugs, and then that branched off into so many more beautiful things and opportunities and relationships with different people, and then they manifest into moments like these where like I didn't have to seek this opportunity out, like seek me out. And
How
like I
how
said-
did you get to work here for 40?
Oh, for 4D? Oh, yeah, that's even more wonderful. Cody was my mentor. And
I don't know Cody.
You don't know Cody?
No.
You'll probably see him before we leave. But yeah, he was my mentor. And then Tony was like, he was the executive director. Actually, I don't even think when I met Tony, he didn't even work for 4D, technically. Cody was the only employee. And then they would tell me like, hey, you can like work here one day. And I didn't understand the concept of like peer services the way that I do now, and that it's actually best designed to like take people who are participants and mold them because they're literally the best version of what a peer mentor could be. It was like somebody that has lived experience. So it's like a wash, rinse, and repeat. If people choose to do this and use their lived experience, like what better person to do this than you?
You've been there.
Exactly. So like now I see that, and you know, it's more realistic to me now. But they used to always tell me you could work here, and I'm like, man, hell no, I couldn't do that. This seems fun and good. Like the good things aren't. Look at me, fucking look at why I'm here. None of this shit was like good shit. So yeah, that's how I got exposed to 4D. Then they called me. Tony called me one day. It was like, hey, when I had 2 years, because that was a clean time requirement back then. Hey, you want to do an interview?
Is.
It is.
It was on. I applied. I'm trying to merge my recovery skills with my business skills, right? And on the application, and I'm like 27, right? Fuck you, yeah, no, in a way, but no, in most places it says 2 years. And
Really? Oh, yeah, I know that. At least MACBO, I don't. The peer support specialist might be different as well, but like because it was like a workforce crisis, which I don't think that this was the.
I got my certificate from MACBO. I
You
was so
did?
happy when I passed
Yeah?
the background check. Yeah.
Oh man, that's what, and that's the thing. Theirs is like a lot less stringent than like the peer support specialist
I
one.
applied
But
as well.
yeah, I hope
get
that.
it.
Yeah, you'll get it. Okay, cool. But yeah, so yeah, they called me basically, and then I got offered an interview, and then I did the interview. I was super nervous. I remember like I didn't wear a suit, but like I wore the nicest thing that I possibly had, like with like hard bottom dress shoes. And they're like, dude, what are you doing? This is a peer mentor job. I didn't know. I'm like, man, I got to impress these people.
Right.
So started working here when there were probably maybe 4 or 5 employees at the time. And the rest is history. Worked my way up. And then it was also like, it opened a lot of doors for me as far as like personal development and professional development. I got my CADC while I was working at 4D.
I love that.
Yeah, and then it was just like it was something that I would have never done. When it's like I went to PCC to do it, I always wanted, I need to go back and finish up and get my bachelor's degree, but it's like I got college credits because of it. And as 4D grew, like I was afforded the opportunity to grow with
it.
4D. So like I was basically like raised recovery-wise in this organization. And, you know,
I love it.
now we're like,
4D is everywhere. Like,
it is, yeah.
we interviewed Skylar, right?
Skylar Ray?
Yeah. And Jared and Amanda, I love to death. And I knew Amanda prior to doing the podcast, but
What's so cool about these organizations is what 4D does and GTD, and that's what impresses me, and not impresses, not the right word necessarily, but I look up to. When I met Izzy and I heard what he did, taking people from the program to go work for him, and he was actually recommended by his board to, no, we need to hire this person there, and he said, no, I want to pull from within.
Yeah.
I'm going to give him that trust, and that's beautiful. That's the chance, taking the chance on people. If only we could have more public companies doing that. You know?
Yeah. No,
there's such a stigmatism behind all of that.
there.
Julie experienced 30 years ago. She was in prison, and she experienced it just
I just got
recently.
a job, so I
It's
decided
crazy
that
that
I
it's-
couldn't make enough money in recovery because I make a decent amount of money. And so I said, I'll just stick with my field for a little while longer, but I'll take a smaller job because I have a lot of direct reports right now. But I signed the contract, okay? And I thought I was doing a lot because I'm willing to drive to you. And like, I get to work from home sometimes now or drive in and it's close. But when my background check came back, they withdrew their offer. This is just a few weeks ago. I could not believe it because I already work for my company now. I went through a background check. I worked for Sprint for 20 years. And in Sprint, I had to tell when I went there because it was only like 4 years old. So Sprint I told and they were cool with it, but I could not believe that 29.375 that they said they rescinded their offer. I was a little crushed.
Yeah.
I was crushed for a couple of weeks and I'm in IOP because I took some time off to go through the stress part again. And Peter, bless Peter, because he gets me at those fresh moments sometimes because we live close. But he was like, it just means you're meant to do the podcast.
Right.
It just means that you're meant. And I'm like,
Do something different.
yeah. And
That's how you have to look at it. But it's just mind-boggling that people have that. Oh, 30
especially
years,
with my
you can't
resume is flawless.
That doesn't make sense to me. That is, you realize you said 27 years ago?
29.
29? That is a whole adult child
That's me.
ago.
That's me being a
Like-
senior operations manager for $1 billion company. I'm a manager right now for $1 million company, and this company isn't even as successful as those.
That's
I just
wild.
wanted 6 employees because I have a lot of employees right now.
Yeah,
So,
that's a lot to manage. But yeah, that's the stigma.
78 during Christmas. Yeah.
And that's 20. That's almost me ago. I'm 33. Like,
God, I got sober at 32.
really?
Yeah.
Man, I can believe it. Not the sober part, but like the stigma. But it's just.
I was
ridiculous.
shocked, to be honest with you, when they said background check because I had already gotten my certificate from MacBo, right? I was like, are you serious? And I forced them to tell me why. And she said, and I was like, okay. And then I just figured if you don't want me, I don't want you.
Right.
Because I bring it. You know, every job I've been at, I've been really successful. And I think we talk about it. Sometimes that success has been too important. So I'm willing to do less now, make less, and do something that fills my soul.
Yeah, I think that's important. It's something that, like fills our cup up rather than, like empties it.
Yeah. It hurt my ego for a few weeks. I
Hell
won't
yeah.
lie. I won't lie.
So your day-to-day here, are you a peer mentor then for others?
Nah.
Or
No, my day-to-day here, it's changed. I've worn so many hats in this organization, but my day-to-day now is like most recently, I took on the Director of Recovery Services for Washington State.
Okay.
So I'm going to be leading our expansion into Washington. So basically taking our decade-old proven model and implementing it into Washington. So
That's fantastic.
a lot of the stuff that I've been doing is focusing on building community partnerships out there, revenue acquisition, a little bit of grant writing here and there. I'm learning that it's more like me working with the grant writer and putting some of the narrative together and then doing some of the data and she kind of refines it and stuff. But like, that's mostly like what I've been doing.
We're headed to
Yeah.
grant writing.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Tony offered to help us.
Really?
He's actually been really helpful. He's, as far as if you need something, reach out. He's been good.
I mean, that's one thing that dude is good for, like
And he surrounded himself, I will say, Adrian, because he is not trying to prove it to me, but he has proven it to me. And he has surrounded himself with one hell of a team.
yeah, I would agree.
If there's a smart decision he's made about anything, it is that. Whether it's Elton, Amanda for True Colors, like he has surrounded himself with a flawless team.
I totally 100% agree. And that's a dude that like I've learned a lot from, and he's played a huge role in my life and introduced me to a lot of things that I had never been introduced to before or never had. Even when it comes to committees that I sit on, stuff that I never would have done because I'm just like, I'd rather not lead this group and talk in front of a bunch of people that I don't know that I think they're smarter than me. I'd rather not. he's the one that like pushes me. And so this is really pertains to your job. And I think that it would be beneficial for you to do this and like professional development opportunities.
You're going to learn so much taking this to Washington.
Oh, yeah.
There's no stopping you now. I'm just saying you're going to learn a whole new set of stuff. And don't ever sell yourself short. You're sober.
Yeah, most definitely. And I'm starting to like, it wasn't until the last couple of years I really started to like believe in that, because like working here and working with that dude and Cody and them, it's like, wow, like they put me in positions to where I've had to prove this to myself and other people over and over again, to where I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I can do this. So like I still have a struggle with imposter syndrome a lot, but yeah, like I've proven it to myself over and over again, and I know the ways in which like I can be an asset to my community, organization, and I also know that I'm capable of learning constantly. Right. So
sometimes it's just showing up. I think people forget that just suiting up and showing up is half the battle. Yeah. I hear you on the imposter syndrome. Like I told you, I was a little shook a couple weeks ago. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, it was. And Peter's got me at some moments. I had a news story that hit me too. We won't go into that. But I'm like calling Peter, and I don't watch the news. But I was watching the Celtics game on Channel 2. And the news came on. And I'm like, Peter. And I'm like, this fucked me up. And you don't know when it's going to come. Right. I've had more adversity the last 2 years than I had the first 25. But the good thing is, I will tell you, I know that no matter what the fuck comes my way, yeah, that's not an option.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No.
Then I lose everything I've worked for.
Definitely. I'm right there with you.
In my respect. But we were talking the other day. There's things you can't buy. Your word, your work ethic, respect. You can't buy those things.
Most definitely.
And for those listening and anyone out there who's either where you were those years ago or maybe midway, you're a beacon of hope to those people. They can hear your story. They can relate to what you've been through, and then see there's hope. There's a place for me. If you can do it, if Adrian can do it, I can do it, right?
Yeah. We have the link to 4D on our website, and we have the recovery walk on our website. We're going to be there as well. You just have to go to our website for any of those things.
Yeah, most definitely. You guys going to be at Hands Across the Bridge at all?
September 2nd, I update the calendar. Peter's like the tech genius.
I'm like, what are we doing this week?
And what's crazy is I booked us so bad the other week because I was going to work at that company, right? So I piled on a whole bunch of stuff not to leave Peter hanging when I went to work. And yeah.
It was a lot.
It was. It was. We were doing interviews. It was like a full-time job that week. Yeah. It's all good. I'm telling you, the people we meet, we just keep meeting good people. My recovery, I'm going to say, because I felt really comfortable, was a lot more singular. It wasn't until I heard Amanda speak at True Colors, and I went for the ice cream that night, I won't lie. No, they were having 50 looks there, and I met a bunch of my boys.
They went,
I met a bunch of my boys from my meeting, and Amanda came out and spoke that she had gone to prison and whatnot, and I was like, maybe I can merge my skills with recovery. That was the first time I ever even thought about it.
Really?
I figured if she could do it and she only been out 7 years, right? Like, maybe I could do it too, and it would make me happy. And I had some bomb-ass ice cream, and I cheated, and I got somebody's ticket, and I went back. I got chocolate as fuck. That was the name of it, and I sat there and ate ice cream all night. So it was good.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day and allowing us to speak with you. And it's been a pleasure having you on our show. Heartfelt. So.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be a part of something like this. Anytime I get the opportunity to do something like this, regardless, because I'm nervous. Even before all those classes, like for some reason, I'm always nervous, but I feel like it's a privilege for me to be able to do these things.
Yeah.
Learning.
And you show the way for others out there. So I think that's awesome.
Learning in the class was, Peter, you know what? And it was good. I learned a lot of things. We had already interviewed Tony and Amanda, but it was very good for my brain. And because I was off work, I really made the most of it.
Yeah, sounds like you did.
I really did. So it was good. It was really good. I thank you for taking the time There's no words I can say, so thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
This is Peter with
This
the Real
is Julie.
Recovery Podcast with Julie, Adrian.
Yep,
Thank you
yep.
so much. Thanks for listening.
That's a wrap on today's episode. Thanks to each and every one of you for lending us your ears and hearts. Your engagement is what fuels our passion and keeps this podcast thriving.
We cherish the moments we share here and hope they resonate with you, whether you're on a daily commute, at the gym, or just taking a moment for yourself.
Make sure to head over to our website at realrecoverypodcast.com. While you're there, subscribe to our newsletter for the latest insights and uplifting stories from our community delivered straight to your inbox.
Click that subscribe button on your favorite podcast player too, so you can keep up with every new episode. It's your support that keeps our conversation alive and meaningful.
And if our stories have touched you, consider using the donate button on our site. Your contributions, no matter the size, are deeply appreciated. They help us continue our mission of sharing hope and healing.
Join us beyond the podcast and follow our journey on social media. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, and on X, formerly known as Twitter. All the links are on our site, so you can stay connected and be a part of the Real Recovery community every day.
Your likes, shares, and comments not only spread the message of recovery, but also remind us that we're all in this together.
So, until we meet again, remember that recovery is a journey, not a destination, and we'll be here to accompany you every step of the way to recovery, real recovery.
Thanks for listening.